Hello and welcome to another episode of Mothgirl. It has been a while, and I do apologize for that. Things have been a bit crazy, and I don't know, I just haven't had the time to sort of sit down and do a couple of instances. But I did promise I'd get Mothgirl out there, and here it is. I'm going to try to do a few more instances because this one was actually pretty fun. Today, as you can see, you probably have guessed by the area that I'm flying around in here, we're doing Lost City of the Tol'vir. I keep trying to call it the Lost City of Tol'vir, but anyway, it's called Lost City of the Tol'vir, and this is where the entrance is, right down here at the bottom of Uldum. It's not hard to find at all, and you actually get a quest that sends you there pretty early in the question of Uldum, but we have to keep in mind that this instance is actually set up for level 84 to 85, and well, from my experiences, I would say that you should probably rather be 85 and at least have a bit more experience, a little bit more gear to be able to do it properly. And this is now from a tank's point of view, because I think DPS will probably be able to sort of get away with, let's just say, underperforming a little. And aha! As you can see, queuing as a tank, never a bad thing. Always so quick, and I love it. I really do. So, pretty cool loading screen here. I'm still trying to figure out why Blizzard didn't make the loading screens widescreen. As far as I can tell, it's 4:3, and it looks pretty weird. But anyway, we're gonna have a look where you can get the quests from. As I said, there's a quest that leads you here, but then right here at the entrance you can pick another 2 quests up, which give some pretty decent rewards. Only 1 item for me, but I suppose that's pretty much the norm. And there's a bit of cloth spell damage, spell power gear there, which I suppose I can use if I go Moonkin. I'm not a big fan, I'll probably tell you that 1,000 times. I think a Moonkin Druid should not be rolling on cloth gear. Same as a hunter shouldn't be taking the leather, whatever, you know, stuff like that. It's just not how the game was designed, and yeah. I also get really irritated when people complain so much about the fact that there's absolutely no leather spell DPS gear, and that's such a lie. I've been plagued with this stuff. The questing zones I've leveled in have had so much of it there. But anyway, enough of that, ranting again. So this first pack, I won't lie, actually, these first few groups were pretty hard. There's no specific order that you should do it in. I know that a lot of people will probably cringe at the fact that we didn't crowd control at all, but I assume that we've got a paladin healer here, and I've got a lot of cooldowns to waste, so I thought to myself, let's just try it like this, and if it works out, we do it like this. If it doesn't, we don't. I should probably be practicing the fact that practicing the crowd control a little bit at least, like avoiding breaking it, stuff like that, because you're going to have to do that in heroics. You can't just pull everything and kill it all in a heroic. You will have to at least crowd control a bit. So there's that earthquake that these mobs cost, and those are those earth swarms. You need them for a quest, and as I said, that earthquake, you just have to run out of it. Pretty simple to avoid, not very difficult at all. And I think the reason these groups are actually pretty hard is just that first little bang, that first little hit. You can take a lot of damage, and if your healer isn't paying attention, it's pretty easy to die there. So I just recommend watching your health. And I actually have been using bark skin a lot more. I mean, it's not a huge reduction, but I throw bark skin, I throw lifeblood down, and then the damage reduction and the slight bit of healing on myself, it actually makes it a lot easier for the healer. So that's another thing. I think personally, I think the tanks really need to look out for the healers. I mean, they have a pretty difficult job, especially if the group slacks a bit and the tank doesn't really do what he needs to do. So the first boss, this is General Husam, and he's got some interesting skills. I gotta say, I liked how he looked as well. Those wings look pretty cool. But anyway, he throws these little markers on the ground, and I suppose in sort of typical WoW style, just stay away from them. And then another skill that he does, there you can see it right now, is he makes this little, I suppose it's a cross, it's sort of a 3-pointed cross of smoke on the ground. Pretty big, you can't miss it, you really can't miss it. And you just got to stay out of that, because after a couple of seconds, it looks like about 5 seconds, it explodes into these big spikes, and that obviously does a lot of damage too. I did realize that you don't have to stand too far away from it, just sort of right out of the way. you can even just be touching the smoke and that'll be fine, but yeah, I suppose generally you'd want to stay further away from it. Another thing that it's called shockwave there, actually. I didn't know the skill. But another thing that I realized that you should watch here is watch the pillars, because you've got to keep kiting the boss away from these little exploding bumps on the ground that he throws, the markers. So you've got to watch the pillars and try, if possible, try not to break line of sight with your healer, because that makes it really difficult for the healer once again. Yes, all you tanks out there, be nice to the healers. So on the whole, the boss is actually pretty simple, and you can see that's for one of the quest objectives there. And yes, a spear, a polearm. Sorry, not a spear. Well, it's a polearm and a spear. Yes, Swin. Know your weapons. Know your weapons, man. Okay, so it's a slight upgrade for me, and I suppose I just took it anyway because, you know, if I'm not going to use it, I can just vendor it for 30 gold. Hee. So mean of me, but no one else wanted it, so it's all good. And yeah, getting upgrades for me is such a surprise every time. Like, I don't expect to get gear whenever I go into dungeons. It's not what I think about. Another thing I like to do is I like to ask random questions like, are these worth enchanting, the items that I get here? Because, well, I like hearing other players' opinions on this kind of thing. I personally, I do think it's worth enchanting. Like, the guy here did reply and said yes, but not the most expensive enchant, and I agree 100% with that, especially if you've got to enchant a friend. I've got my girlfriend who does enchanting on her character, so it'll be pretty easy for me, but if you're going to spend hundreds and hundreds of gold on that, I don't know if it's going to be worth it. Another thing is, I actually wanted to talk about gear a little bit, because while we do this trash here, there's the other Oathsworn captain. Yes, that's the other one for the quest. And as I said before, just the earthquakes on these guys, not so difficult to dodge. But yes, the gear. I was actually so tempted to buy like a couple of, maybe 1 or 2 epics, because I got a lot of gold on this character at the moment. We did a lot of preparation for Cataclysm. We sort of played the auction house a little bit, collected a lot of herbs, mining stuff. Basically, we just had a lot of gold ready when Cataclysm hit. So there hasn't been anything to spend it on yet. It's been pretty sad so far, but I'm sitting with like 100k and nothing to spend it on. So I thought I might buy a couple of epics because I saw some cool leather gear there, and it's item level 359 as far as I know. But I don't know, I'm usually not the biggest fan of spending cash on that. Like, it's something that you're gonna outgrow or outlevel pretty quickly. So yes, I lost a bit of aggro there. Hoo. It's fine. The party survived. The healer healed it. All good. The mobs in this instance, having a look at, okay, well actually stop talking about the mobs, Swin. Look at how pretty this place is. There's a lot of detail here. Wow, this lost city does look incredibly cool. It's weird that their gardens are so well tended, because right now I don't see very many gardeners around here. These guys look pretty angry, pretty ready to attack. I don't see these pygmy brutes or anything like that handling a pair of garden shears, tending to the trees and bushes. But anyway, they seem to be pretty well tended. It's obviously magically done, and they ain't got no gardeners. So these groups here, they're actually deceivingly strong. If you don't watch it, they can kill you pretty quickly, especially when those 3 are stacked on top of each other. But I like how interestingly different these mobs are. Like the scout is really fast, and then you got that spellcaster there, and then the brute is incredibly slow, and you can actually kite him very easily. And it's just interesting that they did stuff like that. And there's a bunch of moths around here. I should be feeling really, really at home. Yeah, I really should be. And there, woohoo, Mirage Ring. So that's another item for me, and that's like super bonus for me. That's like, I think with that, those 2 items, including the quest item, is 3 items from 1 run, and that's a bonus that I do not often see. So in this next area, we're heading towards the next boss here, and you're actually outside. I do like this. I like the fact that they let you run around outside here. And here's Org. I think that's how one says it. He is sort of a boss, but I don't know, it's more like a little, I don't know what you call him here, a comedic break from the action, because he's a little bit crazy. He doesn't want us to take the treasure, and we're gonna feed the crocs apparently. So he just disappears in a poof of smoke, and then here's me again pulling mobs that we apparently don't need to pull, because we could have jumped down the left and ran around, but me being my ever vigilant, ever watchful self. I was totally worried that my party members would aggro these things, so I attacked them and I tapped them instead. But as I said, we had a decent healer here, so he was on the ball and he was there with me. But I was saying that this is nice that they let you come outside here. It's a bit weird, okay? It is a little weird having an instance that's outside and so open. I would actually like to run out there and see how far you can go. Where does it end? But I didn't do it in this video, sadly. That's an adventure for another time. And then we've got the boss, the next boss. He's called Lockjaw, as far as I can remember. Please select him, Swen. There you go. Lockjaw, Lockjaw. Sheesh. Know your bosses, please. Before you make a video on YouTube, know your bosses. So, Lockjaw is standard, straightforward, simple. Nothing really special. What he does is he targets one of your party members, and then a bunch of frenzied crocolisks attack it. So, I only realized that like a second afterwards, and then I started running like, no, must save Hunter. I think it was the Hunter, I didn't even see that, but anyway. And then you should probably try tank them. The DPS should be able to take them down really quickly, but anyway, as a tank, I try tank as much as I can. And then you can see at the back there, that's Org, being the clown that he is, and just like going crazy with that whirlwind and not doing much of anything. That's the only other thing you got to watch out for on this boss. You got to stay away from Org, which we're not doing too successfully here. He does this whirlwind the whole time, and he sort of just tries to meddle with the fight, but not too hard to stop, not too difficult at all. So basically that's it. The Crocolisk Lockjaw does a lot of damage. He has these little Crocolisk buddies of his that chase your party members around, but on the whole it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Another thing that I realized that I was doing wrong here was I should not turn my back on the boss the whole time. I know on a boss like this it probably won't make too much of a difference, but I think it's a really bad habit. Like, on the whole, you should never turn your back on any mobs. So some cloth, yes. I'll disenchant that. And here's me just being a real adventurer again. I wanted to see what was in here. I wanted to see this treasure that Org so spoke of, and it looked like a bunch of potatoes in a bowl to me or something. So needless to say, I wasn't really impressed. But I was impressed once again by the cool graphics here. This zone looks so nice, so lush. And then I was also quite impressed that our Death Knight picked up aggro. Oh no. You know, what happens is when something like this happens is I run in here and I quickly attack the mobs, and then they think, what a noob tank, he aggroed those things. But it's actually me just saving my party, being the heroic type, taking the blame, taking one for the team. But yeah, it's cool. I'm so friendly. So anyway, the instance itself is not too long. I like the fact that, you know, the ratio of mobs to bosses is pretty good. It's not too bad. I have seen better. I have seen more exciting. But I think the fact that you can skip a few, and the fact that they're not really boring. The instance isn't boring. I suppose if you do it too many times, and you start running heroics and stuff here, like over and over and over, start grinding away at this, it'll be pretty difficult. But right now, for me, it's pretty fun. It's entertaining. Anyway, so on these AoE pulls, right now, because we're not using crowd control at all, my sort of rotation, the general rotation I use is I run up in there and I usually try to fairy fire the furthest one, the caster usually, because I know I'm not going to get any melee shots on him immediately, and then I proceed to either swipe or thrash. I find that I just use Thrash on pretty much every single cooldown because it does really nice damage, and especially if you can mangle the mobs afterwards, every single one of them, like you mangle the one, then when the cooldown's ready you mangle the next one, etc, etc, then it just deals insane damage. And well, geez, Druids do have enough AoE tanking stuff. Because of my maul glyph, I can maul 2 targets at the same time. That's also pretty decent damage, so my AoE tanking capabilities are quite good. And if I do lose aggro on a mob, which happens quite often, I mean, because you can't keep the same amount of aggro on all of them, and if you don't mark the targets correctly, I was actually marking here, so if you don't mark them correctly, then I suppose, you know, the DPS could target the wrong one and things could get a little bit crazy. Like you could lose aggro easily, then you can just use your taunt and it's fine. One thing I didn't do enough of in this instance is, once again, I didn't use my berserk skill, but I think I did very well with my other cooldowns. I used my troll racial a lot for the attack speed increase, the haste. I used Barkskin all the time. I used Enrage quite a lot too, Lifeblood as well. I did good. Like with that kind of thing, I think I did pretty good. And I keep forgetting about challenging Raw, but yeah, it's one thing that I should probably not forget about. And I'm not sure why the Death Knight pulled that quickly there. Apparently he decided that we were ready, and personally, I don't think we were ready there. I do think that he pulled slightly prematurely, but we did handle it. This was sort of crisis control, and I was going a bit crazy here, trying to get aggro on all these mobs, running up and down and up and down. Yes, a tank's job is never done. But when I got aggro on all of them, things normalized a little bit. I did pop a few cooldowns. Survival instincts, I did use survival instincts there. Jeez. Okay. Phew. Indeed. So, anyway. This is me just losing it right now. Okay, so the patrols here, you've got to watch out for the patrols too, because if you do head through this instance, then I mean, it often happens, and I really do mean often, it happens that tanks don't watch behind them, and they sort of look at the ground. They look at the mobs that they're busy with, and that's not the best idea. You know, you've got to keep an eye on in front of you and behind you at the same time, because, like, those patrols, when they walk up and down there, if you can pull a patrol while you're pulling a mob of 4 or 5, a group of 4 or 5 mobs, then it can do a lot of damage, and it can probably wipe you quick, especially, I'm not even going to talk about, especially in heroics, okay? Normal dungeons, it's quite possible to handle, but if this was a heroic, we probably would have been dead by now. Another thing I was sort of really weary about is these merchants standing here. At first I didn't realize that they were all normal mobs, and I thought, oh geez, look at all those elites, how are we going to possibly do that? And then, yeah, someone being my girlfriend standing behind me told me, oh no, wait, those aren't elites. So, yeah, not so bad, and that was crisis averted. So, here comes the next boss. This one, I don't really want to talk about him because we did wipe on him, the High Prophet Barum. You know, we didn't wipe. I mean, it was actually my bad. Okay, so in this boss, I'll just go through it as we get to it, because I sort of forgot to do something. I knew this basic strats here. I did read up on it before I came in here, and I knew about the whole kite in the ads thing, but I didn't know about standing out of the sunbeams. Like he said, the one of our party members actually said, big bad stuff on the ground, stay away, ooga booga. But I didn't know it was big bad stuff coming out of the sky. I don't see a sunbeam as something on the ground. But anyway, okay, so my bad here. I didn't move out of the sunbeam in the last phase, and I died. I won't lie, I died. But we didn't wipe, so it was actually okay. So that sunbeam apparently does a lot of damage, and the healer couldn't out-heal it. So when he does this phase of his, I think it's around 50% health, then what happens is a Harbinger of Darkness spawns, and it's a little phoenix there, you can see. You just have to kite it away from your party members, keep it away from them, because what happens is, you can see that little glow on each of your party members. What will happen is, there you go, a soul fragment spawns from one of your party members, or from myself, that one's actually from me. And it'll slowly but surely make its way towards this Harbinger of Darkness, and when it gets to it, bad things happen. So I wanted to move this thing a lot faster, but it just looked like my DPS wasn't staying with me, and then I sort of started slacking a bit, and I thought, okay, let's DPS it down, let's do it now. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. So we got it down though, we got it down in the end, and took minimal damage, I suppose. But then tragedy struck. Swen didn't move out of the sunbeam. Oh no. And I took a lot of damage. I mean, I won't, like, for 1 second pretend that I wasn't at fault there, because that was my fault. And then once again, the party, being as good as they were, they actually did manage to survive here. It got a bit close, actually. They nearly got that. I think they nearly aggroed that patrol over there. So the Death Knight was lucky he moved out of the way. But yes, I couldn't edit this out, because I do feel that, I don't know, I think it's better keeping it real. Wow, I can't believe I just said that. But I'd rather upload the whole thing with mistakes and all, because it sort of gives you a look at what you shouldn't be doing, and I really do think it's a better way of looking at it like that. If you look at a flawless run, then you're never gonna know like how it looks when things go wrong, and this is exactly how it looks. You know, just watch Mothgirl videos every time. So yeah, I do apologize if it's not like the most professional run or most in-depth or let's just say well-rounded guide. I think this is more a simple man's guide, you know, an honest recounting of what happened. So yeah, that's it. I do like how this area started just transformed when the last boss, how does one even say that? Siamat? Yeah. Okay, Siamat. When he spawns, then the storm just starts here, and the area just looks amazingly cool. I do think it's nice. So I like that little whirlwind that we jumped on there, and I like that our Death Knight got totally lost down there. He just looked like a bit of a clown, and I had a bit of a good chuckle at that. So I also like his nickname. Luffy is, as far as I know, a Chinese StarCraft 2 player. Anyway, no, getting distracted. We're on the last boss win. Concentrate. So, level 87, that's pretty daunting. But this boss, boring. Okay, straight up, I didn't like it. All you have to do here is, it seems like the entire boss fight is just tank the ads. There you go, that guy summed it up pretty nicely. You just ignore the boss for pretty much the entire fight and tank the ads. Keep them off your party members. And get them down. That's it. You can see the boss has this little water shield around him or something, so you know, attacking him probably wouldn't work anyway. But it's not difficult. It really isn't. It's a lot of up and down running, but it's a little bit boring. I mean, I just think that the boss fight, they could have done so much more here. Maybe if you guys have done this on heroic, you could give me a bit of insight as to how it works on heroic. I'm probably going to read up on it anyway, but like, is it more interesting on heroic? Because I feel that it's just a little bit boring. Like, all you're doing is running around after these little minions, and the boss just stands there shooting his big balls of blue flame. And I mean, it's cool and all. I think you got to stay out of those storms as well. Like, there are a few little mechanics here that are interesting, but I just feel that the boss fight itself wasn't that great. Yes, cower before the storm. This little phase here, in my first run, what happened is I actually got knocked off the edge, and when that happens, you just have to run towards him. Keep staying away from the edges, run towards him, and that's it. It's pretty straightforward. And then what happens is when his shield goes down, you can just start pounding away at the boss. Pounding away at this little genie here. He's got a really cool model, very similar to the one, if not identical, to the one in Vortex Pinnacle. But it does look cool, so no complaints from me there. So yeah, from a tank's point of view, it's not very difficult. You can use your charge skill quite a lot here just to stay up in the mob scrolls, and obviously Taunt has a nice long range on it, so you can use that as well. I don't know, I just feel not a very challenging fight right here. But I suppose we can look to the future and think to ourselves that, wow, he might drop some really nice gear, or he could just drop absolutely nothing. But it's beside the point. So for the DPS and stuff here, as I said before, also a straightforward fight. I don't even think I used very many cooldowns. I know I used my Berserk here and I did quite a lot of damage with it, but I didn't have to use my cooldowns. I did use box skin, because as I said, I like making it easier for the healer. But overall, the boss fight is not very difficult. One thing I can point out is I do like how it looks when he dies. That is really cool. A big explosion around him, and then the rain disappears. Things are good in the lost city of Tol'vir. And here's another little piece of loot that I actually wanted, but I didn't get. I know a lot of you probably complain and say that that's DPS gear, but it doesn't matter to me, okay? So I needed the upgrade. Both my trinkets were actually inferior to this. I had some low-level leveling trinkets, and let me just, yeah, they would have worked well. That trinket would have done me some good. Agility, never bad for a druid tank. Sure, it may not be a tanking trinket, but I would have hit that anyway. Okay, so that is it. The Tol'vir, yep. So I actually read a little bit about them, and they teamed up with Alakir and Deathwing to bring all sorts of trouble to the residents of Uldum. They seem like pretty bad people. Some interesting information though. I mean, I enjoyed reading up about them a little bit. So you can hand the quests in back at the entrance, not too far away. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I gotta say I enjoyed the instance. Overall impressions, definitely good. A thumbs up from me. And that's it. I'm gonna try to... let me think. It's Grim Battle is the only one that I haven't done yet, and I'm going to try to do that soon. Like in the next day or two, I'll probably have that uploaded. I have such a queue of uploads going at the moment. It's going to probably take me till next year to upload all of these things, but hopefully this will be up sooner rather than later. And thank you very much for watching. Leave any criticism, comments, flame in, or whatever you want in the comments below, and I will read every single one of them and reply to them all too. So thanks for watching once again. This is Mothgirl signing out. No, this is not actually Mothgirl. I'm Swen, and that's Mothgirl on the screen. Not right now. She was on the screen. She actually waved at you very nicely. I hope you all appreciated that. But anyway, thank you again for watching. See you next time.